Look familiar? It should. This is me. This is us. And if you don't see yourself in here, it's because you haven't lived enough years yet on this earth. Remember what it was like back then? When we had time? We could play as much as we wanted, but now we have responsibilities. We have bills to pay. Despite my shrinking free time, my love for multiplayer sim games continues. And if you have gamed in the last 10 years, you have crossed paths with War Thunder. This game has been a constant in my gaming life, and throughout my time, my understanding and use of the game has shifted from a sim to a chat lobby, and then realizing it is an institution. I was surprised when Gaijin Entertainment, aka The Snail, was willing to talk. They had seen my sim gaming Dark Age video and liked it, so I was honest. I told them what I really thought of the game, and they offered me a sponsored video. I could not believe it. The thing is, I read the contract very carefully, and I found a loophole, so I will say the truth, and the Snail will pay because I need to break even from the years of premiums that I have purchased. Additionally, comparing War Thunder to other games like IL-2 and DCS is an interesting topic to cover for the channel, as all these games compete for our time. After all, War Thunder is a comprehensive game that has over 2,000 vehicles in it, and despite the huge number of vehicles, they are detailed and playable in a PvP setting on PC, Xbox, or on PlayStation. This game has been a wild success, so while I did find some loopholes in the contract, there are some things that I can't get around because the Snail is hungry. Joining War Thunder via the link in the description nets you some free stuff, as the Snail is generous. If this is your first time here, this channel focuses on multiplayer sim gameplay, so if you're into that, please subscribe. Usually I play games like IL-2 and DCS. They position themselves in the market to be the most realistic simulators because they take more time to learn, and the players of those games love to stick their nose up at War Thunder. While simulation games don't really have a clear definition, some people are right that some games are more realistic than others. After all, some games struggle to model splash damage. A combat flight simulator, after all, needs a working splash damage model because since World War I to World War II to modern day, bombs have been one of the primary ordnances planes have carried into combat to inflict damage onto targets. It would be pretty silly if a simulator did not have a consistent and working damage model. That would be crazy. What else would be crazy? Let's look at IR missiles. These things have been a staple in air-to-air combat since the 50s or 60s. Some of the earlier variants of these missiles had some very real limitations of not being able to track heat signatures between clouds. In a simulator, you would never be able to acquire a target and shoot through a cloud. Games that overlook these more intricate things in air combat would not bother modeling it. That would mean that clouds don't matter. In some Cold War fights, because you couldn't evade any sort of fire while climbing into a cloud. You see where I'm going here? Without a clear definition of a sim game, it's up to every single person to pick their hill to die on and come up with an arbitrary rule on what is or isn't a simulator. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. What does matter is giving fair credit where credit is due. Simply said, it doesn't matter if War Thunder is a sim or not, because it does model some things much better than some of the most realistic simulators. Their damage model is top tier. Their air-to-air IR modeling is probably the best in the industry. And if you think I'm just saying this because this is a sponsored video, you can look back at my old videos where I said this. I anecdotally say that War Thunder has captured a good chunk of sim gamers that I know of. These people were the ones that I played IL-2 or War II Online with me back in the day, but now they're just War Thunder players. Not to say it is bad to enjoy War Thunder, I'm not saying that at all. I think War Thunder gets an unwarranted amount of flack. I fault War Thunder more for what it doesn't do versus what it does. I think that some of the things they model, like the IRST and IR signatures, could be regarded as maybe the best in the industry. Their encyclopedic level of coverage across tanks and planes should be lauded. This is the truth. These individual things that get modeled to this level of detail should act as a North Star for other games to replicate. I can already hear the collective screeching from people who don't want to believe it. No matter how many buttons you click in your cockpit is going to change this fact. Like all other games, War Thunder picks and chooses what it does model and where they dedicate resources. Pre-World War II planes, no problem. World War II planes, easy. Cold War and 4th Gen aircraft, the Snail continues to build an encyclopedic level of coverage across countries and eras that is so comprehensive it will soon put Wikipedia to shame. I mean, look at this. There is no other game that has so much playable vehicles in air, land, and sea. It's actually insane what this game has been churning out. And this leads us to a very interesting thing about War Thunder. While people do love to talk about how realistic DCS and IL-2 Great Battles is, there is the elephant in the room. Not everything is playable. They are in War Thunder. This is what I call the Fidelity Problem. This constant demand from consumers and reaction from companies to continually model more and more fidelity in the games makes the individual planes more realistic, but it makes the environment more sterile. 30% of the planes delivered to the US Army Air Force in World War II were heavy or super heavy bombers. There are none that are playable in IL-2 because it would be too prohibitively expensive to model it in that game. All of the major heavy bombers are in War Thunder. DCS has the highest level of fidelity in each module and rely on third-party module makers to make some, but this results in spotty coverage across the eras of what gets modeled, and there is a poor level of standardization between the modules. I would go as far to say that DCS probably tries to tackle too much level in detail because it is clear to me that they are not able to maintain a consistent level of quality across them. While War Thunder is streamlined, relatively bug-free, runs like a champ at full graphics. I know exactly the level of quality I'm going to get with each vehicle, and that game has everything playable. There is one MiG-21 in DCS. There are over a dozen in War Thunder. I haven't flown all the MiG-21s in War Thunder, but I can guarantee you there isn't a unique set of bugs in each one. The battlefields in War Thunder, while bite-sized, do meet a consistent level of expectation because the snail continues to do what it does well. Think of your other games. How many patches have broken the game and made it not enjoyable for you? How frustrating is it to try to play your game and you can't because something is broken? Contrast that with War Thunder. They maintain a sustainable level of fidelity and ensure their experience is consistent. Lastly, it doesn't have to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be a race to realism or a race to fidelity. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. You have your go-to game when you are feeling sweaty, and you have your go-to games when you want to just relax and chill. When I was in my teens, I used to play World War II Online, and we had a group of 20 or so of us that played every night. We played for hours, and this is where I really cut my teeth into multiplayer sim gaming. This core group of people were the people that have become lifelong friends, and I still continue to talk with them, but the journey from there to now was spotted with some key events. Back then, I was the youngest one, and I remember the older ones telling me over TeamSpeak and then later Discord about going to college, getting jobs, meeting their girlfriend who later they married. And I remember these moments because soon after them, they weren't as available to play with us. This is a normal life cycle of a gamer, and I am now one of the older ones that has more responsibilities and less time. I can't play as much as I want. I still talk to my old friends, and we do it while playing War Thunder. Their lives have become so busy that they don't have the time to crack open a 700-page Chuck's Guide article to learn how to play a DCS jet. They have enough time during their baby's nap to squeeze in a few games, and their game of choice is War Thunder. I have several gaming friends where our entire relationship has been more or less contingent on this game. It's the only common ground we have left in terms of gaming because they don't have the time for any other games. Which brings me to a really ironic point. The hardcore simmers love to stick their nose up at War Thunder and call it a kid's game, but in actuality, War Thunder is better suited for busy adults rather than kids. I had all the time in the world when I was a kid. I am really busy as an adult. Sometimes I literally only have 30 minutes to play in 1 or 2 nights, and War Thunder is a great game for that. My preference would be to sit down and drink a bottle of scotch while getting sweaty playing the most realistic and complicated game ever, but I don't have the time to do that every day. Sometimes I just need to zone out for 15 minutes in a neat tank or plane. I continue to keep connections and catch up with people while playing War Thunder in the background. Additionally, this game really taps into some really weird lizard brain thing that we have. Remember Pokemon cards? Yeah, I used to collect those when I was a kid too. I collect War Thunder vehicles now. There is this weird thing that goes on, that satisfaction where I am catching them all as I grind down the tree and progress from start to finish from pre-World War II biplanes to a Cold War jet. It's nice to be able to play a more casual game, but still have some persistence. Only play 2 hours a week because you are like me and your parents are aging and you have to make sure they are taking their meds? Totally fine. Your progress is saved. I took a break for War Thunder for a few years and came back right where I left off. No problem. It feels great when you hit a certain milestone, when you unlock an iconic vehicle that you really like. That dopamine high and that sense of accomplishment. Not sure what I mean? Heard that? Yeah, I'm salivating too. Keeping contact with these people has been made easier by War Thunder. It's our common place where we game and catch up. If you are like me and your parents are aging and you have less time per week to game, then connect with your friends via War Thunder and use the coupon code in the description to get going.
The year is 2028. ChatGPT has been elected president, DCS 3.0 has been released, and Eagle Dynamics is going to bring a new level of standardization to all modules and make sure that all the damage models are brought up to speed. In order for the third-party modules to be able to pay for their development, every single module will be re-released with an extra $25 charge, like the Black Shark 3. IL-2's newest franchise is launched, IL-2-4, and they are starting with the Western Front. At release, there will be 8 planes modeled.
Does this scenario sound plausible to you? If it does, then wonder to yourself where War Thunder will be in 2028. This game is massive. Everyone I know has played it at some point and ends up going back to it every once in a while. And as I mentioned in my previous point, as we get older, more of us are going to have to go back. War Thunder gets heat for not being the end-all, be-all, full fidelity sim, but the snail is not trying to do that. It is serving another need, and that is a need that I have and I need to satisfy some days. Has it totally crushed other games? Yes. Has it made it harder for other sims to come into the market? No doubt. These are all fair points, but what is also fair is putting the blame on the past and current sims for allowing it to happen. The chase for full fidelity planes, the refusal to model 4-engine bombers, or more dynamic environments left people unsatisfied, and the snail made a product that scratched enough itches and sucked the air out of the room. This snail is inevitable. War Thunder will always be here. The fact that other games like DCS and IL-2 exist is because the snail allows it. Don't believe me? Imagine what would happen if the snail announced a dynamic campaign that increased the battle space to a MMO-sized level, or if the snail started to tackle full fidelity. It would completely wipe out the other games. The snail is gracious. I'm not in the know with the snail. I don't know what it is planning next, but what I do know is that every time they reach a new milestone, everyone takes note. Remember when thermals were announced, or Gen 4 fighters? Everyone took a peek at how War Thunder was going to adapt it to its game. Why do people keep tabs? Everyone deep down prays for the snail to take it to the next level and release a big MMO battle space. People keep tabs because they aren't completely satisfied with their games. The snail is welcoming. What is another thing that goes along with institutions? The loyalty to them. People love this game. People risk going to jail for this game. War Thunder has had at least 3 incidents that I know about where people decided to post military secrets on the War Thunder forums in order to try to get things to be modeled to the most accurate possible level. The snail is thankful. Imagine what War Thunder will do when it runs out of vehicles to model. They have over 2,000 vehicles and are churning them out like they are candy. It is not beyond the realm of possibility that the snail ends up orchestrating World War 3 to break out in the world so they can secure future vehicles to model. This snail is powerful. In closing, I will say that as someone who plays a lot of games, they all scratch a different itch. They all have different purpose, and they all should and do coexist. It is not all or nothing. We can pick and choose depending on our time, and as I get older, this is a more important thing. If I'm in the mood for a very high-skilled fight, I go into IL-2. If I want to experience full fidelity Cold War, I go to DCS. If I want to experience a more realistic tank game, I go to GHBC. If I want to catch up with lifelong friends and have a few laughs, I go to War Thunder, because the snail maintains a consistent experience that has persisted over the years and is a common ground for people to stay in touch with each other, and that alone is a really compelling reason. It's the same reason why you maintain a Facebook account. Zuckerberg is sucking all your data, but you deal with it because it's your connection to people you studied abroad with, your old college roommate, or your ex-girlfriend that is now happily married with 3 kids. It's the same thing with War Thunder. The snail will bleed all of our wallets, and we will be thankful because the snail is your common place to interact with lifelong gamer friends. What are your thoughts, and what has been your journey in War Thunder? Do any of you treat War Thunder as a chat lobby to keep connections with your own friends? I found doing this video to be a very interesting thing, and it actually comes at a great time because I've been really busy lately because of my new job. While I wish War Thunder could cure all the problems in gaming, it doesn't, but I have continued to give a disgusting amount of money over the years because the continued contacts that I have kept with my gamer friends has been priceless. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you would like to support, please consider subscribing and checking out War Thunder if you haven't already. The link will give you some free vehicles. The snail is judging me based on how many people signed up for the game from the link below. And as we all know, we exist to feed the snail.